Hi everybody, Rita here. I wanted to go ahead and bump into the episode just a little bit early because there's some exciting news today. Retreat Anchor Corporate Edition just launched and I'm so stinking excited. If you have been around on this podcast, you have been listening to me talk about this for a while. This is my baby, my first course ever. It is a mini course. It is for you if you're a corporate executive, an HR executive, a corporate meeting planner, a team leader. If you have ever considered a Retreat at Sea program but had no idea where to even start off with planning the logistics, this is for you. It gets you from a Retreat at Sea idea to tangible plan in just 5 days. Check out the show notes for all the information so that you can purchase it. And please share this with your colleagues and anyone else who you would think find it super valuable to them and their team. Now, let's get into the show.
Welcome to the Stronger Tides Podcast, the podcast for small business entrepreneurs and corporate executives to learn more about increasing their client or employee retention through a group cruise program. Ready to drop anchor? Here's your host, travel advisor Rita Perez.
Hi, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am here with my second guest ever. I am super excited. He's one of my really good friends. I would almost say he's probably like a brother after everything that we've been through all these years. My friend Jesse Belock, he is coming on the podcast. He recently graduated with his MBA and he specialized in human resources. And he even tested out my mini course Retreat Anchor that is dropping actually today. So Jesse, welcome to the show.
Hi everybody. Thank you for having me, Rita. I'm so excited.
Yay! I can't wait to get in a little bit. I want to dig into your brain a little bit with everything that you had gone through with your MBA process, and why did you decide to specialize in human resources out of all the different sectors in business?
I actually chose human resources as a well-rounded career option for myself. My mother also does HR herself. She does HR recruiting management right now for the city of Corpus Christi. Mm-hmm. And I originally wanted to go into the hospitality and tourism industry, but I wanted a more well-rounded option. So I'm still able to take this in the future to that industry, but I could also work it into any other work sector on the planet, basically.
Yeah.
So I really like all the aspects of all the well-rounded HR that I got to learn, and about the policies and everything that really made me more of an eligible candidate for future job aspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like HR is definitely that, very well-rounded. It's a necessity for all businesses. They need people to take care of their people who are taking care of their profits.
Exactly.
So from your learnings just in the past, how long were you in the program? Was it 2 years or was it more?
I got my bachelor's in 3 years, and then I did an insane rapid track 1 year MBA. It was supposed to be 2 years,
Whoa.
But I condensed it because I'm very impatient.
Oh my goodness. That is so fast. Because I did my master's, I think, in 2 years.
Yeah, I had no life.
I know, very tight schedule. Man, I can't even imagine being back in school. So when you were learning more about HR in depth, doing your MBA, what would you say are kind of the trends in company culture and company engagement?
With a lot of company engagement, a lot of companies are now focusing on retention. And mm-hmm. Of course, with the whole COVID ideal going on right now, it has been a huge issue with companies across the world, because some of them are kind of trying to bounce back and they had massive layoffs and furloughs. Mm-hmm. And now they're bringing people back. They need something to kind of help entice them, whether it be a better benefits package, whether it be better incentives. So right now, a lot of companies are gearing towards attractiveness, because now, as you know, everybody with all these massive layoffs and the highest unemployment rate in God knows how long,
Oh, yeah.
they need to be able to be competitive. And now they have, for every open spot, they have about 1,000 people applying for it. So
Oh,
they have to
gosh.
find the best people, but they have to be able to offer those people something that they're willing to actually come on board to.
Oh, that's so true. I didn't even think about that because there's so many people who are unemployed right now. I was kind of figuring that was a benefit to employers because they have so many people. But I can also see that as a downside because there's too many people to filter through.
Exactly. A lot of these spots are now just overwhelmed with applicants and a lot of people who have the better qualifications because they had that same job or better job in the same city that is no longer open because either the company completely shut down or they've been shut down too long and they need better income.
Mm-hmm.
It's really flipped HR. And this is one thing I was talking to my previous friends with in my last job. Um, Black and white turned very gray with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So it is a very, very gray market right now with a whole lot of new policies and a whole lot of new
Yes.
laws that are going into effect. So it's almost an HR nightmare, but if you have the right skills and the right team, it's well within their grasp to succeed with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, because I've seen it in some of my friends too who have been furloughed or just like waiting to get back to work. Like they're still getting a paycheck, but they haven't gone back to work. They're being a lot more selective than they probably would have been pre-pandemic. I think a lot of people from COVID-19 have realized what they really want in their life, and they're not willing to settle with all the upside downness that has happened. They're not going to settle on what they feel they deserve based off their skills and their experience. So they too are being selective with who they are going to be applying with and for what positions and what benefits.
I completely agree. That's the exact same boat I'm in right now. Like there's jobs across the country that are hiring, but like I said before, so many people are applying for it. But I'm not going to look for a job that's going to pay me less than my last job. I mean, we have skills, we have the degrees. I mean, of course, if I need to do something, I'll do something. But I definitely understand that mindset of why settle. Now we have that time to look for a better job, do the proper research, and see what really attracts us and what these companies have to offer.
Yeah. Find that better fit. I had just heard on a podcast that it's not, what was it? They're not looking for a culture fit. They're looking for a culture add. Someone who is going to add on to the culture and benefit, not someone who's going to fit in. Someone who's going to incite positive conflict in order to get better results.
That is a great aspect of view to look at as very true. Instead of just fitting in and being a member of the team, what can you bring to that team? What can you do to make it better? How could you help them grow?
Yeah, exactly. That nail on head. So, obviously retention is probably super up. I wouldn't say with all companies, because some companies, and I talked about this on the podcast last week, some companies have been flourishing through everything during COVID. So they don't have to worry too much about retention. They're actually hiring right now. I would worry more about retention in the engagement part, because maybe you are keeping somebody, but maybe they're just staying for a paycheck. Maybe they're just staying for medical benefits. How have you seen like any changes in any trends in that regard as far as retention, but you need to do something a little bit different because pay and keeping your job just isn't enough anymore either?
Of course, that was definitely a big thing pre-COVID-19, but right now a lot of people in the market are happy with their jobs that have their jobs. So that is one thing that's just this current year. Of course, that's not going to be forever, but just in this current time frame, But a lot of these people definitely need that extra incentive, especially early on this year, because, for example, with Uber, whenever they passed that law to where you got an additional $600 of unemployment
Yeah.
per week on top of your unemployment, companies like Uber and Lyft drivers, they made more money out of work. The same thing as the lesser paid individuals that were kind of minimum wage to $11 an hour, $12 an hour, in that range. A lot of them were pretty much trying to leave work because they got paid more being home than not. So right now, what a lot of those companies were trying to do was, what can we do to get them to stay? Because they weren't able to stay afloat with all their people leaving.
Yeah.
So they definitely had to add on extra benefit packages, give extra days off if they had to. They had to appeal to their masses to retain their masses.
Yeah.
So they definitely needed to sit there and see and show what they could offer to actually keep their people engaged. And that's kind of the same coming back, because a lot of these people coming back are uncomfortable, especially if you're working with the public, if you're, putting yourself kind of at risk. Like, what are you going to offer your employees extra to help them make more, comfort, or help them feel better about it?
Yeah.
So give them kind of an incentive, kind of a reward at the end of the year, something that could definitely draw them back into the office and be okay working.
Yeah, and I think, because I made a couple notes that yes, people are working, but a lot of people are burnt out right now because, if you take vacation time, where are you going to go? It's very hard to go anywhere right now. That's one concern. People who had like a solid casework, like I know one of my friends that she's an education coordinator at a hospital, and she did a lot of work previously, like working in the office, and now it's almost like she's doing double work, working from home, almost like a sense of, because I've heard this from another friend who works in university housing, that they're not trusting their employees to work from home, and thus are like pounding them with all this extra work. And therefore, you have all these employees who are now burnt out from working, and they may have loved the job previously, and now they're like, like I'm at wit's end, like I'm choking, I'm suffocating from all the work that's going on.
I definitely could see that. I know a lot of people that are in that same boat where you had a somewhat easy job, and especially like teachers right now. I have teacher friends that are now not only teachers, they're also tech support. They also have to call every student every day, every parent every day almost.
Wow.
And it's just such a massive transformation into most careers across the board. It's just really, especially the working from home aspect. Sometimes it is easier, but not always.
Yeah, I think it depends on your circumstances, both at home and then work-wise too. Because some of the people who are working from home right now, maybe the company's doing okay, but the company had to make some cuts to stay okay. And so now they're doing the work of maybe themselves and another person or another two people.
Exactly. I could definitely see that, especially in for example, the airline industry. Right now, it's pretty much only 1 out of every 6 people working.
Yeah.
So they are very overworked. I've done some traveling recently, and you can see it just in their face and their demeanor and everything there. It's definitely putting a toll on those people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel for everybody because I'm in the hospitality industry currently still. And in my business is hospitality, so it's been greatly affected also. So going into retreats at sea, I know retreats at land have been pretty popular with some companies. I know not every company does it, but some companies do it. So what incentive do people have, do you think, to go on a retreat at sea? Because I know if my company said, hey, we're going on a group cruise and we're going to do it retreat style, you're going to learn something, you're going to have fun, I'd be like, yes, when are we going?
I think a retreat at sea would be a lot easier than a retreat on land, specifically just for the ease of access of everything.
Yeah.
Because if you do something on land, you got to get the hotel, you got to give per diem for restaurants, you got to give this for the extra booking fee for this room. You have to have all these separate things come together for one. Whereas if you do a retreat at sea, not only is it all there on that same cruise ship, but you could do it all with the same company, the same group. You could easily block out the rooms in certain areas. You could just have it all be together and make it easier.
Yeah, that I hadn't. That's I appreciate that you brought that up in regards to there's so many more logistics that you have to plan at sea or at during on land versus at sea because everything really is there for you on a cruise ship. Your travel advisor, of course, is coordinating the logistics for you, but that's also a benefit of doing it at sea versus doing it yourself at a hotel is that the logistics are taken care of by somebody else for you, and there's there's not too much to think about because you have your hotel there, you have your entertainment there, and you have your restaurants there, and you're traveling somewhere else.
Exactly. You're all in one place the entire time, and it makes it easier, especially the larger the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that somebody would be like, retreat at sea? No, we can't do that. Like either employee side or corporate side?
I think a lot of them do because I think unless if you're really into the whole travel industry and really read up on what they are, a lot of people see cruises as something extravagant and expensive that's out of their price range compared to going on Priceline and getting a hotel somewhere and having all your other expenses. But in reality, it's really a lot more inclusive than anywhere else you go. And a lot of people don't realize the extra benefits to that because that's really where the cost savings are.
Yeah. Yeah, you do get more for your money doing a retreat on sea versus on land. What are some of their company values?
So I guess the best values that this could really bring would be really good team building exercises. You're able to actually get one-on-one time, sometimes with your executive management and your staff, to actually get to have some let loose fun, to have that, I guess, team experience that's not in the workplace. So you're able to get out of the workplace, whether you still have a meeting or two there, of course, that's always an option to have it be a work vacation, but it's still a vacation. I mean, you work for maybe 3 hours a day, but you have the whole day to enjoy the rest, to really get to meet everybody around you. And that really does boast confidence, and it honestly helps the retention in the long run because they get to enjoy the people they work with, and maybe they're meeting new friends.
Yeah.
And you meet lifelong friends through work, like how me and you
Yeah.
met. It wasn't on a retreat, but we met through work. And I mean, the closer you get to certain people, the better it is in the long run, especially for the company, because that really does make a good morale across the office, especially when everybody comes back. And on top of that, before you go, everyone's looking forward to it. And then who's going to bunk with who? Hey, let's go on this excursion together. Hey, let's do this. Hey, who has the best margaritas on this boat?
Yeah.
I mean, it really does boost that entire morale in the workplace for looking forward to it and then from enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Christine last week she just had like a glowing review of how she still has these amazing memories of going on a retreat at sea, and it's been so many years after it even happened. So that makes me, as a travel advisor who helps companies plan retreats at sea, that makes me really happy because I can see the long-term impact of what my work has done. And that's really why I do this type of work, is I know what it feels like to be underappreciated, to work on teams that are just not gelling and just not vibing, and for a company head to think about their team in such a way that they are so important that I'm going to invest thousands of dollars into a retreat at sea because I know how valuable you are to my success. Like that to me is huge. I don't feel like I've ever really felt that way before. And I want to be able to pass and share that feeling on to other employees.
Exactly. I completely agree, especially because a lot of these employees in the lower and even mid-level positions don't have the time and money to go on themselves. Maybe they have a whole family. Maybe they don't have it in their budget due to medical reasons, but being able to, and a lot of times for the first time, go on a cruise, to be appreciated, to feel appreciated like that, and to get that once in a lifetime opportunity that they might not have had in the past, or they might not get to for a whole another decade. It's definitely a memorable experience. Of course, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I feel the awesomeness, I feel the sparks when I'm on these retreats and helping out my companies and helping out their employees. I can't tell you like how much joy it brings me just to help and provide a service to these people. It is this year, and I mean, even the first year that I had done it, I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is like what I'm really great at, and connecting all these pieces together. And I just want to do more. But when I bring it up to other people who this could benefit for their companies, it's always like, yeah, that seems like a great idea. And I feel like they don't understand the concept of really what a retreat at sea is and what it encompasses. And so that's what inspired me to create Retreat Anchor, my mini course. It helps you to get from an actual idea to a tangible plan that you can incorporate. I think that was like the missing element, because if you research, you can't find anything.
Not at all. And I love the program you put together, because a lot of companies, whether they have a big or small HR plan or program, I should say, they might know how to cruise and you might know how to get a hotel, but booking a group like that and doing the planning for, let's say, 50 plus people is definitely a task that is not easy to come across and not easily to execute as well. So while your program definitely does show them, to of course get a professional to assist them with it, it also keeps the HR team and the executive team of the company on the right path of the calendar of the steps that they need to do and what they need to have in place and to check. And it really is a great thing that they could use, because again, they're not a travel advisor. That's not their profession. That's not their expertise. And they're not going to find it or do it right on their own the first time, most likely, especially if you're doing it for a whole lot of people.
Yeah. And that's what I also try to communicate within the course, is that I'm in charge of everything logistically with your program on the cruise ship, even prior to or after that. You're in charge of putting the program together, but I'm going to show you in the course what you need in order to put the program together, because your brilliance is your team and whatever industry you're in. And my brilliance is in the cruise industry and how to make sure you have a successful event. And that's what Retreat Anchor helps to accomplish.
And that is exactly what those teams need, because if they don't have that professional access, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, I would even say a retreat on land is difficult to plan without having, something like this in place to help guide them in what they're going to be doing.
Oh, completely agree. I think any large group retreat's difficult anywhere.
Yeah.
So, of course, it is definitely difficult on land, because yes, you can book the hotel rooms, but you got to think of the logistics of how much money you're going to give them to eat. How many ballrooms do we need for these presentations? Where are we going to go meet for this? Where are we going to go do that? Who is going to be in charge of how much alcohol they're allowed to drink, or so forth? But I mean, of course, that's going to be on the cruise as well. But on land, you don't really get to, they're all free to go somewhere. So on cruise, you at least have that knowledge that
stuff together.
Okay, they might have some fun, but they're going to go to their room, which is right there.
Yeah.
So it definitely does make it a lot easier. But the biggest difference is a lot of people don't know how to book all that extra stuff on a cruise. Whereas on land, you know who to call at a hotel, you know who to call there. But on a cruise, a lot of people don't have that extra knowledge of all those extra options that they have for these retreats.
Yeah. So you have been my guinea pig, one of my guinea pigs taking the program. I have day 1, which is to pick your cruise. And it's not to pick your exact cruise. It's to help you figure out what type of cruise you should be going on. Day 2 is to calculate your budget. Day 3 is to plot out your dates on the planning calendar. Day 4 is to create your preliminary agenda. And day 5 is to plan out or select your surprise and delights. So from those 5 days, which would you say was your favorite?
I would say my favorite was I guess the budgeting of it, because that definitely does give a great breakdown on what to expect. And whenever they have that Excel spreadsheet that you made for them, they're able to kind of play around with it and say, hey, okay, maybe we could go on this kind of cruise with these kind of rooms with this kind of money. And you get to play around with it to see really what other options you have in the budget, because that'll really give you a great taste of, oh, I could actually do this. I could actually do that. And I think that is a really great tool, because a lot of people don't think about those extra fees and those extra charges and everything that is included in that.
Yay! I'm surprised by the budget. I know everybody shies away from the budget, but I worked really hard on that calculator, and so I'm glad that you found some use, and you're not even the head of a company that would put this on. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh no, that's definitely important. I mean, my HR work experience was through a consultant firm, and we did benefits for multiple clients, and the budget was the biggest thing we had to work with. So you have all these extra plans and you have this money, but we could change things here and there within your amount of money to get exactly what you need. And so that budget calculator definitely does help them. And I mean, some companies might have, let's say, 200 people, and they could have an incentive. They could be like, if X amount of people sell this much money, you could get this kind of room while you're on the cruise, or so forth.
That's a great idea.
You could add that in your budget as extra rooms to have. And let's say that goal isn't reached by everybody, you could kind of raffle off to the winner, who gets these upgraded rooms or whatnot. And so that's just an extra add-on incentive that companies could kind of plan ahead with using that budget calculator, because they're able to actually see what money goes where and how much it'll cost them and what's left over and whatnot.
That's awesome. What would you say is, so we've talked about the best part, or the part that you liked. What would you say is the most challenging, or what would appear to be the more challenging part for somebody who's going through Retreat Anchor?
I would think the most challenging part, not necessarily through the Retreat Anchor, but through the whole program itself, is the timeline. Because a lot of people don't realize that, like you do mention in the program, you do need to look at it 1.5 to 2 years in advance on most cases. And a lot of people don't realize. They kind of want
now
this is September, we want to go cruising in December. Well, you should have booked that a year ago.
Yeah, totally. And
so
I think
definitely staying on top of that is really important. And especially if they're going to do an annual cruise, you're going to be planning possibly 2 or 3 cruises at the same time in different stages for your group. And just getting everything booked in the future and get everything set aside and doing the proper planning with the executive team, setting out the right budgets and so forth. I think that's really an issue with anybody, mostly because time management is always everybody's kind of Achilles heel. It really is. I mean, time management, of course, is simple, but if you're thinking about a cruise, a lot of people don't think that far ahead, of course.
Yeah, because that's also why I put out Retreat Anchor right now, because it would be foolish of me to think that any company is going to be like, yeah, let's book a cruise and we're going to go in June 2021. I don't feel like any company really, or not many, are going to be sailing in 2021. A lot of employees are very concerned still, and reasonably so, about things that are going on with the virus. A lot of employees want to make sure there's really tough protocols or a vaccine that's in place. So what I have built Retreat Anchor on is the whole concept that 2022 is really going to be your year. And not only that it's going to be your year, but you need to start planning that now, because other people are thinking the same thing. Because it's not just retreats at sea that happen on cruise ships. There's weddings, there's family reunions, there's bridal parties. There's so many things that happen that you are competing with for space on the ships.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of them could look at it just like a huge resort. I mean, of course, there's a lot of other things going on. You got to be the first ones to that room, especially if it's a ballroom, if it's a conference room and whatnot. That's why you need to definitely do it ahead of time and to secure your location and secure your spots so you're not scrambling last minute or left out meeting in someone's room.
Yeah, because that, when I first started working with the company that I do these retreats with, that was the biggest thing, is that I would only have a couple months to plan the certain things out. And I'm like, we can't, like, there's not, you either have the cabins and not enough meeting space, or the meeting space but not enough of the type of cabins that you need. It's all like a healthy marriage and balance. So in the past couple of years, I've been able to get them to start thinking further and further out, which has been really helpful, because then there's less back and forth going on. You can say, yes, I want all the rooms every single day. Okay, we got them. That's good.
Exactly.
Alrighty, so who do you think Retreat Anchor would be best for if you're thinking about positions in a corporate setting? Who needs this?
I would say the HR team, depending on the company, as well as the CFO, because the finances are definitely going to be very important with the trip like this. It's definitely going to cost some money. And as well as HR, because this will be part of their benefits package almost. This will be a source for retention. This will be something that we could use in your hiring process. Whenever you're seeking out new candidates, we could say, hey, annually there's a cruise that we have for y'all. And it's definitely a part of the incentive program that they could add to the benefits package for new hires and for the whole company itself. So I would definitely say the HR team as well as the CFO.
Okay. Cool. Well, that is going to wrap up our time here on the podcast today. Thank you so much, Jesse, for joining. Do you have any final words or final thoughts before we get off?
I do. I think that everybody should definitely give this a try, because if you're trying to plan a vacation for 50 plus people and you don't have that experience, this is what you need to help you get through it. This will walk you step by step and you'll be a lot less frightened with it. So it'll definitely ease that anxiety. A first time massive travel planning. And definitely thank you for having me today.
Yay, I can't wait. We'll see. If you guys want to have more of Jesse's insights on, please shoot me an email so we can have them back. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Retreat Anchor is live, so make sure to check my links in the show notes so that you can grab it today.
Thanks for joining us on the Stronger Tides podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast. And if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating or a share with your colleagues. Find us on social media at Rita Ventures Group Cruising and online at ritaventures.net. Until next time, happy sailing.